Good evening and welcome to our virtual Dominion Energy Jazz Café. I am very excited to be sharing this stage tonight. Featured on NPR's Tiny Desk, we welcome Miramar.
Desde que tú ya no estás, la mente se me ha vuelto a comportar y el odio no se confundirá con amor, con pasión, con deseos de quedar. Espiritual y carnal, mi cuerpo ya no se gastará y el dolor no volverá a hablar de traición, de perdón, de navilla, libertad. Piedra venenosa en el jardín, la falta de mi bien será tu fin. Débil, frágil tus raíces, cicatriz, de la cual ya está sanando mi vivir. Aurora, ven a por allá, bendición, ella lejos quedará. Y al hablar ya me comprenderán, sin error, sin temor, mostraré sinceridad. En el jardín, la falta de mi bien será tu fin. Débil, frágil tus raíces, cicatriz, de la cual ya está sanando mi vivir. Y ahora que el alma encontrará esa paz, no me resistirá. Y ojalá una fuerza me vendrá, con la cual otra hiedra mi cariño evadirá. Una fuerza con la cual otra hiedra mi cariño evadirá. Una fuerza con la cual otra hiedra mi cariño evadirá.
That was an original song that we just wrote right before we played with the RSO in the fall, the Richmond Symphony. And we're going to do another song that is an original that's coming on our next record that we're going to record. We're recording. This is called Lo Sabrás.
Yo te voy a enseñar sinceridad y del alma sin prisa. Yo te voy a enseñar cuando hay que llorar o poner la sonrisa. En tu vida verás bienvenida y partida. En tu vida verás lágrimas mucho más. En tu vida verás promesas no cumplidas. En tu vida verás lo que no hace el papá a través de mi vida. En tu vida verás que no soy la verdad, solo culpa y herida. Odio y amor serán tu sombra bajo el sol. Honor, dolor, cuánto sufre el que anda solo. Odio y amor serán tu sombra bajo el sol. Honor, dolor, cuánto sufre el que anda solo. Mucho hay que luchar, pagarás tus mentiras. Mucho hay que luchar, ganarás, perderás. Mucho hay que luchar con gente presumida. Mucho hay que luchar, tumbarán lo que tú hayas puesto arriba. Mucho hay que luchar, pagarás tus mentiras. Mucho hay que luchar, ganarás, perderás. Mucho hay que luchar con gente presumida. Mucho hay que luchar, tumbarán lo que tú hayas puesto arriba. Mucho hay que luchar para poder defender tu vida incomprendida. Mucho hay que luchar para poder defender tu vida incomprendida.
So years ago, Bio Ritmo, another project we have, went to the Republic of Georgia. And long story short, it was one of the most amazing trips we ever took, and really opened our minds and hearts to just other melodies and harmonies that I personally had never heard before. And this is a very well-known Georgian song. It's called Land of Flowers.
Quavi levis bekana Çok vice moviare Rommitari movalo cirime Rattondai viane Scend vista grepilima Quavi levi Ninda gulze daga crea cirime Villa mazi levi Airatom dagete Rispista via revi Kana çok vice moviare Rommitari movalo cirime Rattondai viane Scendista crepilima
So we do music that's largely inspired by bolero music, but really all romantic music and all music. we get our inspiration from all over the world. A lot of Latin music, though, and so this song comes from Peru, from South America. This is a great example of like the waltz that comes from that part of the world. And this is a very sad love song about where, well, you explain it, Ray, you're better.
When the heart cries.
Yeah.
And down there it's known as música criolla.
Dicen que las copas de licor sirven para las penas del amor. Cuando se ha amado tanto y se lleva una pasión, nunca se borra del corazón. Cuando se ha amado tanto y se pierde una pasión, nunca se borra del corazón. Ya no quiero sufrir otra cruel decepción. Quiero darle un descanso al corazón. Mi destino es sufrir este cruento dolor que lentamente consume mi existir. Mi destino es sufrir este cruento dolor que lentamente consume mi existir. Porque cuando se quiere y se lleva una pasión, nunca se borra del corazón. Porque cuando se quiere y se lleva una pasión, nunca se borra del corazón. Porque cuando se quiere y se lleva una pasión, nunca se borra del corazón. Porque cuando se quiere y se lleva una pasión, nunca se borra del corazón. consume mi existir. Mi destino es sufrir este cruento dolor que lentamente consume mi existir. Porque cuando se quiere y se lleva una pasión, nunca se borra del corazón. Porque cuando se quiere y se lleva una pasión, nunca se borra del corazón. Porque cuando se quiere y se lleva una pasión, nunca se borra del corazón. Porque cuando se quiere y se lleva una pasión, nunca se borra del corazón.
If you've ever wondered if a voice can dance, I think they've taught us that here tonight. Miramar, this first set full of love, full of romance, full of joy, and a trip around the world so far. I'm looking forward to the rest of it. You deserve a break. Will the two of you join me for a conversation? Yes. Over here. Miramar, Miramar, Miramar. This first set has been a joy and a delight. For those of you at home, we've just been chatting before camera and got ourselves to giggling a little bit too much, but we're ready to share our conversation with you. Normally, I would start our conversation with learning who you are and where your music comes from, but I've got three beautiful musicians in front of me, and I want to talk about the music you make together, if you don't mind, and along the way, learn some things about you. Before we roll into the rest of our discussion, where does this band come from?
Well, it comes from Richmond, essentially. I was living in New York a couple of years, and at that point we also were working a lot with New York musicians, and we still consider, we kind of rotate our guitarists and bassists, and I still consider our New York guitarist part of the band, but we're kind of between Richmond and New York in a way, but the three of us are here now, so.
Well, Marlysse, since we're hearing from you first, tell me just briefly about your experience in music and how you come to starting to create things like this.
Well, my upbringing was classical piano through college, my undergrad degree, and at that point I kind of let that go and started improvising, composing, arrangement, and went into the jazz world, you could say, but it was straight to Latin music. My mother's from Chile, so I did grow up with some music from South America, a lot of music from Brazil and Peru and Chile, of course. And I started that was what I always felt a passion for, to play. And I had always had a Brazilian band and started playing with Bio Ritmo down in Richmond. So I'm from DC, but that's how I ended up in Richmond. Playing with Bio Ritmo. It was a salsa band, which Ray is a singer of, and we, over the years, Bio Ritmo always played slower songs, but not enough. We wanted to play more, you know. We didn't want to just play loud, fast songs. So we started this project that was gonna, you know, had this intention of playing boleros, which is, you know, romantic music from all over Latin America. And as you can hear in our set, though, we are sort of obsessed with music from around the world that kind of parallels that style. And Laura Ann is, you know, she'll tell you, but she's, you know, we met her, and when two of them started singing together, it was like, oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, why not?
That's what we're looking for.
So Laura Ann, let's move on over to you. Tell me a bit about your journey into becoming a singer. I know that that your heart lives in the jazz world, but we're hearing this Latin flair tonight. Tell me a bit about how you get here.
Yeah, so I'm still becoming a singer. I don't know
Me
if I'm
too.
there yet. But I started singing standards. It was a love of mine when I was like a kid. I've always liked the American Songbook, Nat Cole and Ella Fitzgerald, all those great singers, you know. But because a lot of Latin music got wrapped up in that, because a lot of those bebop guys were like covering those tunes, and then the singers would start singing them and translating them into English or not. Like you had, Edie Gourmet, who was singing them in Spanish, you know. So there's all this stuff happening, and I'm listening to this, and I don't know where anything's from. And I heard some bossa nova. It was probably a Stan Getz record, and you know, that was like, again, like that was this passion. And so I started listening to and performing Brazilian music a lot in addition to the songbook, and then that's how we got connected, because
Marlysse has this deep love of Brazilian music and knew all about it, and Ray too. And so they were like, maybe she could sing in Spanish. And so, so anyway, that's kind of how we started talking about this project in particular.
When you folded into the project, was it still Bio Ritmo? Did you begin singing with them then, or was Miramar already born?
It was already, Miramar was, it was, when she came on, it was Miramar.
They let me sing choros sometimes in Bio Ritmo when I'm really nice to them. But I get to be a fan mostly.
Yeah, it wasn't until she sang with, or that I sang with these two in the Brazilian band that they had going. It was a song that I happened to know the lyrics to in Spanish. Her Portuguese is perfect, by the way.
Okay.
So it's a song that she was singing in Portuguese. And I was like, oh, I know that song, but maybe we can trade lines, you know. So we sang, and that's when we had wow, we found the chemistry in our voices, you know. And then it was, Marlysse and I had wanted to make a bolero group, but Laurent provided that key, that catalyst. I was like, okay, we can do this, we can do this. But, and we started with a firm bolero foundation, but because we come from such different places, we, really in our journey into doing the bolero, we discovered that during that time, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, there was a kind of a communication globally with music in general. Romantic music, popular romantic music, was, there was a feeling that's the same as the bolero, So that's how we came to include Greek songs, Brazilian songs into the repertoire.
I'm sorry. No.
Please.
Oh, no, just like the best example of a bolero song that went totally global is, the song Bésame Mucho. And it's kind of, it's mind-blowing, because I've done a lot of YouTube research and with this song, and it's actually insane how many languages from around the, how many countries covered this song back in that, I'm talking in the 60s.
But even when we were in Russia, they didn't know no Spanish words, nothing,
but
no context, but they were like, Bésame mucho.
So that song sort of, I know, that song made the bolero romantic, that style made bolero movement a global thing.
We have used the word a lot tonight, bolero.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many people on the other side of this camera knows what we're saying or what we're talking about. Can you teach my audience a little bit more about what this is?
Well, it's on the books. It comes from Cuba in the late 1800s. It was the genre was established. Like, this is a bolero, and it was a singing, guitar and voice thing, and that it's definitely coming from Spain and mixing with the Afro-Cuban culture and providing the beat. And it's also, through the decades, it became, it's a dance too. I mean, we've had the honor of seeing people dance to it, which is amazing, because it's, people think slower, but it's a dance. It's dance music for couples. Then through the decades, it became the leaders of the movement, of the song movement, were from Mexico, Cuba, and Puerto Rico, and you can describe it. There is a rhythm to it, and it's usually a 4/4, boom, 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 boom. It's usually, when you say bolero, you're going to think slow, something like that. You're going to think guitars, maybe piano, maybe organ. You're going to think of someone singing a song, and the lyrics are very important to tell them about. Lyrics of boleros are usually...
First, real quick, the word bolero didn't originate with the genre of music bolero. The word bolero is, it means something totally different in Spain, and it in a couple of different places it means something else. But it was the Cubans that used that word bolero to start, to name this genre of music. But yeah, the words of boleros, it's always about torment, lament, longing. And even goes so far, like one of my favorite singers, Felipe Rodriguez, I always call him the Johnny Cash of the bolero, because it's all there, drinking. I caught them together, I had to kill them, in a prison, all of that is there, it sounds crazy, but it's very passionate, very intense, and it's really, it's not for the for the unromantic heart. You know, you really have to embrace everything about romance, the sadness, the tears, the lack of it, you know, to appreciate, you know, bolero.
Style of music full of heartache, it sounds like to me.
It really is. It really, and you know, it's the songs are so few that they're happy songs. We actually, you know, we'll kind of giggle on stage like, oh, well, we have a happy song tonight, you know, because it's unusual, you know. But
We can always use a little joy and a little reminder that joy comes after heartache. It
But as
never
any
hurts.
Brazilian can tell you, there's happiness in sadness. You know, there's,
sure.
and that's where the passion comes in. You know, you haven't known love unless you've suffered because of love. So it's kind of like that.
There is a unique bit of harmonic structure we're experiencing tonight, not just with the instruments playing on stage. We're certainly hearing some dynamic, creative key tickling from Marlysse tonight. And I want to get into that in just a moment, but before we do, singers. How are your voices and the way that you use your voices significant to the style of music we're experiencing tonight?
I remember being in New York and talking to a lot of guys that play Latin music and are, you know, really familiar with a lot of different genres within that, you know, it's a really big subheading.
Right.
And they were like, oh man, the tenor lines and that duo music from the like bolero stuff is so incredible. It's emblematic of this style. I mean, I think it's one of the most unique things about it because the tenor line doesn't move like any traditional tenor line, I don't think. And so trio music and duo music is very popular, and you've had 3 voices or 2 voices singing often. And the most common duet form is male and female singing, where the female usually takes, not always, you know, there's exceptions, but she usually takes the melodic line, and the male voice kind of jumps between baritone and tenor range with these really complex counterpuntal lines they're hard to sing. The intervals are crazy,
sure.
They're unexpected, and they're beautiful, and it makes this. I think for me, it's one of the most significant and unique things that exist in the music. So we love doing those lines. I mean, I think that's a super important thing for us. And then we also really get excited by, like, you know, some of the different scales and the ways that, like, modes that are used in a lot of, like, more Eastern music, like the Greek stuff and the even Georgian. I mean, it gets wild. Some of the harmonies and melodic lines get really cool. And like Ray said, you know, we kind of pull from all of these different genres all over the world during that same kind of time period for our inspiration. So there's 2 things at play, but it definitely started with the bolero style duet voice thing.
Underneath this particular, direct, intentional, harmonic style, I don't think, Marlysse, I don't think I could accompany something like this. How are you, as the accompanist, as the pianist, taking these harmonies that are very tight and perhaps don't work on the keys, but finding a way to support them so that their song comes through to the listener?
Well, the chords definitely, you know, it's funny because a lot of the chords are pretty straightforward in a way, but then it'll do something a little different, which throws it off just a little bit, where you're like, wait a minute, you know. And so, I mean, theoretically, it's playing. There's certain things that just work on a dominant 7th chord, or there's just certain little, you know, extensions of chords when you're adding the building chords that just work better. And I mean, but as you know, it's also just this. My approach too, though, is just, I mean, like she's saying, I mean, I'm super influenced by that Spanish/Arabic feel, and I just love throwing in like weird little half steps and little things that, you know. I mean, I wish that's why the organ is so nice too, because the organ has so many overtones, and you can just really mess, you know, even just by hitting a chord, you're going to hear all these wavering tones and things, and so I don't know if I answered your question.
I can say that's where our excitement comes from exploring this stuff, you know, and from hearing these new things. And all the time we're writing a song and, oh my God, listen to that weird note, that, you know, let's do that, you know, it works. It doesn't work, but it works.
Yeah, the last song of the next set is our newest song, and that we were, you know, we're definitely reaching for those little, you know, it's a very straight up song, 1, 5, 1, 4, you know, there's nothing on the surface, but there's little things that are happening in those changes that make it where we're like, that's what we like, you know, that's where we like to fall, so.
I've learned from you tonight that you, like many musicians like myself, have done a good bit of touring and of traveling, international traveling, it sounds like, a lot with Miramar. How often do you find yourself in a place like France or Russia, and you come home with something new to add to this style?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, definitely in our last trip that happened right before the quarantine of the world, we were lucky enough to get to Russia and tour for 2 weeks. And before that tour, we weren't, I mean, I guess we were sort of, but we researched Russian music, and I know that Russia's going to have music that's going to be parallel to the stuff we like, basically. Just
all over the world, there's something.
I mean, just that like 60s, it's that 60s decade that had so much stuff, right? But also specifically this romantic style. And so we ended up learning about a particular Russian singer, Maya
Kristalinska.
who we adored. So we ended up doing, so through that trip in preparation, we did this song by her, and it's a extremely famous song. So we were a little nervous, like, oh, well, we're gonna do it. And they sang in Russian, and it went over well, it went over great. I mean, we had people singing along and people crying.
And it was written by a woman composer.
And it was written by a woman composer who's still alive. And so it was just, so through that, I mean, I just discovered that we want to do so much more of her songs. But ultimately, what I really like to do is with these two is write. I want to write, you know, we like to write our own things. We get caught up, of course, covering things, but we have to. I mean, that's how we learn, through learning these songs. But yeah, that's through that last trip in Russia was just amazing. You know?
I like to think that we bring something new to the covers, though.
Yeah, we do, definitely.
Something different.
Well, also, just for our audience, we know that probably tonight, the Georgian song that we just, probably very few people have heard it, except maybe people from Republic of Georgia, country of Georgia.
Certainly, I had never heard it. We certainly
Beautiful
have
song.
now. Gorgeous. I was telling you a little bit earlier, I'm anxious to go do my own research on some of Georgian music. I don't know any.
I'll send you some.
Please. I'm really eager to learn.
I'm very good friends.
Yeah, she works with a group
I'm very
over
good
there.
friends with the Georgian Polyphonic Choir.
Okay,
and
wow.
I just helped release on their, I work for an independent record label and we just helped put their album out, and it's beautiful. They actually played at the Folk Fest in Richmond like 5 years ago.
Yeah, something like that.
And I've been there and I've lived there, so for me, you know, it's a whole nother, it's just obsession, so it's beautiful. So anyway, so I made these guys do this song tonight for the first time. We were Zooming with our friends in Georgia to learn the pronunciations.
That's
because
exciting.
it's very hard language to get.
But it's so beautiful. You want to pronounce things right. You know, you
but
want
these
to.
two are pretty genius at pronunciation.
The diction certainly fooled me, although my Georgian diction does not exist. I've still got to learn it. Before I let you go for set number 2, I want to learn just a little bit more about original compositions that come from Miramar. Who's the mastermind behind those, and how do you like to create?
It's really Ray and Marlysse, honestly. They have this incredible chemistry. I'll let them talk about it, but they've been doing it for years. They wrote a lot of the songs in Bio Ritmo. Not all of them, that was a lot of other people too, but they have been so, they've been prolific, and really, I think their stuff it sounds very unique, sounds like them. So they write in tandem a whole lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of fighting.
Well, only because I'll have something in mind, or vice versa, you know, and then the other will not, you know, because the chords, you have a melody, fine, but the chords can take it somewhere totally different, as you know, and so there's where, you know, it's like, so, but we've gotten better, you know. Bio Ritmo, when she came on to Bio Ritmo, I mean, I was kind of the main songwriter or the main idea, you know, like when we were Bio Ritmo first started doing original songs. And there was a period of time where I was gone. I came back, and we were working, and it was writing a song was like, oh my God, it was, you know, because I don't know how to read or write music.
He doesn't read or write.
Well,
but
when
he
Marlysse
hears
came along,
everything.
well, I hear it up here, so I can sit down and read, sing everybody their part. I hear the harmonies, I hear the arrangements, but I don't know how to write it down. But when Marlysse came along, man, it was like chemistry, you know, it's like, it's this, and she was like this, I was like, yeah, and then the songs just started, you know, happening. And then when the Miramar thing came up, it was like a whole new world opened for us, you know, a whole new world of exploring and just, you know, the joy of having this chemistry. It's a little hard sometimes, yes. It's a little hard, but the end result for me is magic. And
My biggest thing lately was writing-wise has been this opportunity we've had to play with. We've been working with this local string quartet called Rosette, and we've played. Because of them, I really got to learn about string writing, and also when we played in Russia and we played in France, we got to play with string quartets who live there, and so now what we're doing now, we're writing, and now when I'm writing now, our newest stuff, I'm always thinking about the strings and how they're going to work their way, because we got to play with the Richmond Symphony last year, and that was a whole nother mind thing for me to arrange for, it wasn't the full orchestra, but it was, strings and some winds. And now when the latest song that we're playing tonight, I'm just thinking now about strings. I'm kind of obsessed with
Which is great. I mean,
I'm
the
just
strings,
obsessed with I want to hear this with the orchestra.
The
It's really hard
strings just give it a whole.
Yeah. But it works so
dimension.
well.
Marlysse
so-
and Ray, part of the reason Marlysse was like, Bio Ritmo is so big, it's so hard to get everything together. So she's like, let's get a small ensemble. And
Yeah.
now we have like symphonies. So it's like, it didn't work.
Bigger than
And now,
I like that, Laura. Trying to be smaller, now we have a whole orchestra.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that plan just went out the door.
I mean, but what a great story of success. I mean, that speaks to the work that you're doing, that's valued, it has grown. It sounds like beyond where you imagined, and I'm excited.
Most definitely.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited for you for that, and I'm excited to welcome you back to this stage. And I'm having a microphone. Please treat me kindly.
Oh yeah.
We can't wait.
But teach me something. I'm looking forward to learning from the likes of you all. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and thank you to BJ Richmond Jazz Society for inviting us.
Yeah.
I mean, I had played the Jazz Café, long time ago, and with various groups, different groups. So we hadn't done this group through the Jazz Café. So very happy to share it with
Definitely
you
an
all.
honor to be here.
Well, welcome, and thank you for bringing this stage to life tonight. Looking forward to set number 2. You ready for it?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's hear you.
Di corazón, si aún le amas, di sí, mi amor, aún le llamas, di sin las sombras de la noche, su recuerdo vive en mi alma en sufrir di corazón. Si no la olvidó, aunque su amor no es para mí. Mi corazón, si esa llama aún perdura, o si es locura, o si es amor de ti, corazón, si es mera ilusión. Mi corazón, de ti, corazón.
That was a bolero from our first record, which was a dedication to Sylvia Rexach, who was very influential and important composer, musician, writer in Puerto Rico in the middle half of the last century. And she died very young, but she had a lot of work that's very recognizable. And we wanted to highlight her, as we do highlight lots of women composers that we happen across in different genres. And that was kind of one of our first inspirations for this band, was her music and the different duo styles that would sing her songs, especially from Puerto Rico.
And this next song is a Greek song, Hypopsia, and it's a song about suspicion getting in the way of love. And this is the recording I'm familiar with is interpreted by my favorite Greek singer, who is Stelios Kazantzidis, and very powerful, amazing singer. And through him, I fell in love with Greek music. This is Hypopsia.
Είναι μαρτύριο να ζω με υποψία, μα αμφιβολία
Yadaneki simasia Hipopsia amuke yidin tardia Kja foi pa Kja for mi Ego pistevo Você si Da existipsi Si aliati Din historia Kja foi pa Kja for mi Ego pistevo Você si Da existipsi Si aliati Din historia
Hypopsia from Stelios Kazantzidis. Next one is an original. It's called Without You, Sinti. And it's kind of a son montuno more than it is a bolero, but very much a bolero in feeling.
just want to take a minute and introduce the band before we sing our last song for you tonight. Thanks so much for having us. It's such a pleasure to be here and play music in this crazy year we've had. This is our musical director, our incredible boss. She just does all the great work behind the scenes, arranging, composing. This is Marlysse Simmons on keys over here. We have with us tonight the incredible Gary Kalar on guitar, Adam Hopkins with us on basses tonight, and Giustino Riccio on drums and percussion. I'm Laura Ann Singh, and this is Reynaldo Alvarez, and we are Miramar.
So Miramar, we named ourselves not after the neighborhood in San Juan, Puerto Rico, or after one of the many coastal places anywhere in Latin America, but rather about the place itself, which is somewhere you can stand and contemplate and watch the ocean. So this is called Paradero, which literally means just somewhere that you're at for just a short period of time. And it's the brand new one from us, original from Miramar.
Horas y días no delatan tus sentimientos. Tiempo va y viene sin querer meditar sobre llantos y vientos. Ya que no muestras ni compasión ni desaliento. Sé que podré venir, mis quejas repetir, sin arriesgar mi secreto. Mira y va, la que sin importarle momento me deja mi abierto. Tengo ya este sitio que calma el dolor con su alma y aliento. Ya que no muestras ni compasión ni desaliento. Sé que podré venir, mis quejas repetir, sin arriesgar mi secreto.
Muchas gracias.
Marlysse, Miramar, thank you so much for breaking me off at least just a little slice of vacation until I can get away. I really appreciate it. Thank you to you all. The only thing I'm mad about tonight is this man behind me is wearing my hat, and I think he's going to go home in it. That is sharp, man. I got to get me a little room. Have somebody at home buy me one. That's all we've got for you tonight. But I want to say again, thank you to Miramar for joining us. I really am honored that you're here with me tonight. Of course, you're no stranger to our stage. You've played our Family Day quite a couple of times, and we've always enjoyed you there. Those of you at home have gotten to enjoy them on our Family Day and around this town and others around the world. And to those of you at home, thank you for loving with us. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for learning from us. Thank you as well to the Richmond Jazz Society, to Dominion Energy, to Remember Tommy Productions. In Richmond, Virginia, at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts from the Leslie Cheek Theater stage, I'm Robert Fennard. This has been our virtual Dominion Energy Jazz Cafe. Good night.